Hello and welcome to our review of Veronica Mars. I'm Paul,
And I'm Dave.
and this week we are discussing the episode Debasement Tapes. This episode originally aired May 8th, 2007. Alrighty, so let us start off with number one song in America. Dave, any ideas what it could be? It's different than last week. It's no longer Avril Lavigne. It's somebody
Okay.
else who screams 2007. At least to me, I don't know.
Hmm. Something around that time as that. Um,
They were, I
no,
want to say they were very popular from about 2007 to maybe like 2010. And I feel like they were primarily popular with like middle-aged women. That's my remembering of it.
Radios. Nothing's immediately jumping to mind that I can immediately think of aside from the really big names that we've already sort of discussed about that. From the sounds of it, it's not them.
No, it is a song called "Makes Me Wonder" by Maroon 5.
Room. The name of the group rings a bell, but it's a slight case of either getting it confused with something else entirely, or I know of them, but not any of their music immediately off the top of my head.
I feel like I said, I feel like they were like that middle-aged mom band
Hmm.
that was very popular at the time, but nobody has memories of now. Anyway, let us move on to the number one film in America, Dave. Any guesses for this week? I will give you a hint. It is a sequel to a movie that we both quite like. Technically, it's the second sequel. It's a third part in a series.
Something like that, and like within.
It's animated, and we played the video game for part two.
Uh, well, sort of thinking about it, and with the particular series that, well, animated series that sort of survived that long to have that many sequels, the only one thing that's coming to mind is I think the title of it is Shrek the Third.
It is. It is Shrek the Third, which was certainly a Shrek movie.
Yeah, it was that. Like, I think it, like, first one was decent. Two was sort of still running with the idea, and it worked with the sequel. Three, I think was still somewhat decent, but was starting to show signs of, oh dear, things are starting to go downhill.
How many of those movies did they make? Because I thought they stopped at three, but apparently now I'm also thinking there might have been more. Holy Jesus! There was a fourth one, and they're making a fifth one? Holy Lord.
Yeah, I vaguely remember when they were starting to get things together. It was also a slight case of they did particular things like making mini films or additional little skit things in between sort of movies to somewhat keep it within the general zeitgeist of most people's minds.
Oh, and they also did the Puss in Boots spin-offs at some point too.
Oh, that's also true.
Which apparently those are actually pretty good, from what I've been told.
No, that's understandable.
Alrighty, moving on to video games. There's not a ton really this week. So May 8th, if you had a Xbox 360, you could pick up Command and Conquer 3 Trivium Wars.
Supposed yay, but slight case of seeing the box, but just was not interested in playing it.
Real-time strategy on a console, I feel like almost never works out well, so...
Yeah.
Also on May 8th, if you had a PSP, you could pick up Driver 76.
Somewhat understandable, but yeah, not so much within the driver series, and not so sure if it was more of a remake the stick on the system or if it was just not so much different from other ones.
No, it's a sequel to Driver Parallel Lines, which came out. Oh, it's a prequel to that. Sorry, that came out the previous year.
Mm.
But I feel like the Driver games nobody cares about anymore.
Mm.
I love that. Like the first two are really good too. Moving on, May 8th, if you had a PSP, you could also go pick up a game called Heat Seeker, which is some kind of like air combat game, which I guess there are fans of that out there, so good for them.
Yeah, with that, and on a handheld, it never usually hurt.
Yeah, yeah. Also on May 8th, if you had a PC, you could pick up Infernal, which is a game I have never heard of, I don't think.
Like, it seems familiar, but it's kind of around in that time where everyone and their grandma was also making the super edgy particular video game to try and compete with all the other super video game edgy games that were kind of coming out at around that time. And they all just start to kind of blend together in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, this looks like it wants to be. What was that game that was on the PS3 with the guy with the superpowers? That was all like edgy and like, oh crap, what was that game called? Infamous?
Was it mostly? No, that sounds about right. Like
Yeah,
it's either
Infamous.
infamous or it was either infamous or supposedly prototype, but whether or not one was the copy and the other one was original was very much debated between the two.
Prototype. I don't remember Prototype. Do I? Do I remember Prototype, David?
Supposedly, but it's kind of the case of I wanted to play the one, but I didn't have the system for it, so I had to go with the other one because I had the system for it.
Oh, I remember Prototype. I never played it, but I remember the box of it. Yeah, these
Yeah.
were. Yeah, I remember these games now. Yeah, okay. Okay, and the final game on May 10th, if you had a PlayStation 3 and you had an internet connection, you could download a little game called Calling All Cars. It's some kind of vehicular combat game.
Somewhat understandable, but mildly surprising that it would be like something like this and not the traditional thing like the other big series games that work with that particular gameplay style. The particular one that comes to my mind is Twisted Metal.
Yeah, apparently it's similar to Twisted Metal, but with more of like an NBA Jam influence, which is an interesting mix.
Supposedly, but yeah, I suppose some
It,
different
it got
companies and
pretty
whatnot
good
try.
reviews. I mean, it seems like people liked it.
Mm.
I don't know. I never played it. I don't remember this at all.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let us move on to the episode. So, Veronica and Wallace watch a movie at her house. She questions him about Piz's mood, while Keith enters and says that he is currently unopposed in the sheriff special election. Piz runs up to Veronica and states that he has been chosen to be a guide for a rock star named Desmond Fellows. However, his show depends on some tapes Desmond is carrying with him. When Piz checks him into his hotel room, they are missing. Piz calls Veronica for the case and she runs into Logan in the elevator. Desmond points to several potential suspects. Logan asks Mac for help studying, and she agrees. Piz starts his show with Desmond, and it goes terribly, as Desmond makes okay. He makes some very funny remarks here, but they are horrible. You're a Jewish group and your initials are SS?
Yeah.
Veronica and Piz track down a teacher who denies involvement, but the pair find a flyer for a group that threatened to boycott Desmond's show. Piz and Desmond talk about his past and start to make progress. But he ends up going to a party with Dick instead of playing guitar with Piz. Logan and Mac continue to make progress on his business school report, but Mac has to call Max to continue. Desmond goes skinny dipping at his party, while Mac and Max flirt in front of Logan. Veronica discovers that Desmond's bag was actually switched with another person's. Veronica and Piz retrieve it, and on the car ride home, they briefly discuss their kiss at the party before playing a CD with some of Desmond's unreleased newer material. Keith reconnects with Leo D'Amato, who presents a case involving the Fitzpatricks to him. They stake out where the Fitzpatricks are, and Keith sees Vinnie Van Lowe helping them. However, they quickly learn that Vinnie is actually investigating the case and has trapped him inside the store. Veronica and Piz supposedly get stuck in traffic and tell Desmond to play some of his newer songs until they can get there. But they're actually at the concert venue and just want him to expose the audience to his new solo material. Desmond plays the show entirely of his new songs, and the crowd loves it. Piz tells Desmond that he was there the whole time, but he does not react negatively. Max, and Logan finish their report, but the professor cuts Logan off very early on and very much dislikes it. I wonder why, because it's basically just pictures of asses.
Yeah.
Leo becomes a deputy again, while Vinny enters the sheriff's office and states his intention to run against Keith in the special election. So, what do we think of this episode, Mr. David?
Interesting enough with all the particular concepts it's kind of runs through with the story and the couple things that it's kind of building up, but it's another one of those cases that with how much is kind of going on within the story, it's kind of the question of, aside from the one or two things, would this just be a filler episode, or is this really important to the entire basis within the story? But on whole, it's an enjoyable episode, but it leaves me kind of questioning, with some of the importance with certain things that happen. But nevertheless, it was very much enjoyable seeing the guest character with Paul Rudd, his rock star character, running through the antics of the show with all the stuff that he went through and stuff.
Yes, he is very good in this episode. He's very funny, and I agree. It's a fun little episode. It's not like super important, but I think it's a good 42 minutes to spend. You could spend 42 minutes with a lot worse.
True, and I think the one other thing is just with the concept of the mystery and where all the particular things sort of head off to and go with. I'm not sure if it was just either my mindset at the time or just with how many particular episodes it kind of went through with things, but it just seems so easy that it was just the case of he lost his luggage got switched as he was coming in and whatnot from there. And just, oh man, the ways it could have been easier solved with other stuff, but it wouldn't be an episode if it didn't go the particular routes it went.
But it kind of makes sense because he is kind of a drunken kind of loser at the beginning of the episode. And it's kind of like, yeah, I could see you like accidentally picking up the wrong bag and moving on. Like, it seems fine. Alrighty. So next week we'll be discussing the episode I Know What You'll Do Next Summer. Okay, so this is in a way a very special episode. Because it is kind of, but it does a good job of like not beating you over the head with it.
Yeah.
It's going to incorporate the organization Invisible Children into its storyline, and there's a small public service announcement at the end of the episode. Basically, in this episode, a Hearst student and former child soldier in Uganda named Apollo publishes a memoir. Veronica receives a phone call from a man claiming to be his father. Meanwhile, Logan and Dick plan to go surf on a surfing vacation in the summer, coming into conflict with several people. In addition, Piz must decide between two summer internships, and Veronica gets an update about her potential internship with the FBI. Yes, so plenty of things will be happening in the next episode. So, if there is nothing else, I've been Paul.
I've been Dave.